Good morning, everyone. It is now 7:30 on this Tuesday. Thanks for waking up with us right here on Good Day Austin. We have been enjoying a string of beautiful days, but the heat is about to be turned up.
I'll tell you, Mother Nature has pulled a 180 on us this morning. It's cloudy and much warmer than 24 hours ago. Just a sign of things to come. It's 64 degrees, still very pleasant. High pressure that spoiled us with rounds and rounds of gorgeous weather moving on out. Here comes that return flow, that wind off the Gulf, bringing in the moisture, the warmer air, and lots of clouds. But eventually, you see that? That's the West Texas dry line. That's going to advance eastbound. That'll clear our skies, dry us out, and heat us up. Right now, almost a clean sweep of low to mid 60s from LaGrange all the way out toward Fredericksburg. Highs heading for the mid to upper 80s from Lockhart to Bastrop to LaGrange. Here in the Austin area, I know the model shows mid 80s. I want to go closer to 90 today. Winds really starting to increase out of the south, 10 to 20 miles per hour. You guys in the hill country will be in the 90s for sure because humidity values are going to drop like a rock and temperatures are going to skyrocket. Look on the bright side, at least it's a dry heat, and it looks like we're going to be tracking a couple of fronts that will bring in some heat relief. Do we have to worry about any rain or severe storms? We'll talk much more about that coming up in just a few moments. I know it doesn't look great out there right now, lots of clouds, but eventually it's going to look beautiful this afternoon.
Let's take a look at that morning commute with Danielle.
I wish I could say the same about the commute right now, but Mobile 7 is on scene of an injury crash involving multiple vehicles. If I can get Mobile 7. It's on East Riverside Drive at Frontier Valley Drive. All right, in North Austin, TxDOT 3. Let's take a live look at southbound 183. This is just south of Anderson Mill Road. Now, the injury crash cleared off the main lanes, but inbound traffic is all jammed up back to FM 620. Checking on Mopac now, this is near 2222. We are seeing delays northbound. There's an injury collision at the 35th Street ramp. And on the map in North Austin, there's an injury crash on Breaker Lane at North Lamar. That's causing a delay on North Lamar. And if you're in Round Rock coming into Austin, we're still seeing delays because of an earlier crash on southbound 35 near McNeil. Traffic is backed up past FM 1431. There's currently an 11-minute delay. Dave?
We've received video of what appears to be a case of road rage along 183 in Austin. Daniel Salinas recorded that video as he was heading home from his shift Friday night. He says as he was driving northbound on 183, the driver of a semi started getting angry with other drivers and began honking and making rude gestures. Salinas says traffic was only moving about 5 to 10 miles per hour when a maroon sedan crossed into the truck's lane. Salinas says the truck hit the car and just kept plowing it down the road before eventually taking off. Salinas recorded part of the incident on his cell phone and called 911.
Maybe he wasn't from here or something, but that's kind of insane for you to do that and just be okay with it, with not pulling over and being like, hey man, I messed up. You know, I apologize, I hit you, but it was malicious, intentional stuff after you drag somebody for 50 feet or more.
The Austin Police Department confirms they are investigating the incident. They say the semi-truck driver who left the scene could face criminal mischief charges. Meanwhile, Fox 7 reached out to the truck company. They say they're reviewing the video.
A Texas lawmaker is giving up food to protest the anti-sanctuary cities bill. State Representative Victoria Neave says she doesn't plan to eat again until after tomorrow's House vote. Jacqueline Sarkeesian is live from the Capitol this morning with the details. Jacqueline.
That's right, Amanda. The representative is on a hunger strike against Senate Bill 4. She says through fasting and prayer, she's hoping those who support this bill will see how it impacts families. Dallas State Representative Victoria Neave says the measure won't make things safer, and to make a point, she's giving up food. The last thing she ate was a wafer during church on Sunday, and she says she won't eat again until tomorrow's vote, even if it happens late into the night. If the bill passes, it would require cities as well as college campuses to comply with federal immigration officials. It would also punish those who fail to honor ICE detainers. As a daughter of an immigrant, Neave says the bill touches her personally and thinks it could undermine policing efforts. But other lawmakers say it could improve safety.
Individuals are not going to want to report crimes. They're not going to want to go testify in court as a witness to a crime if they know that their immigration status is going to be checked.
I think it's time to get back to the rule of law and not the rule of man. You know, we need to uphold the immigration laws of our country, and we need to keep our communities safe, and that's what this bill is really about.
Also happening today, Austin Mayor Steve Adler is in Washington, D.C. He's planning to meet with Attorney General Jeff Sessions. One of the things he wants to talk about is the issue of sanctuary cities. That meeting is a closed meeting happening at the Department of Justice. Back to you in the studio.
Jacqueline Sarkeesian at the state capitol. Jacqueline, thank you. There are now hundreds more U.S. citizens in Central Texas. A naturalization ceremony was held yesterday at the LBJ Auditorium on the University of Texas campus. The ceremony included 350 people from 69 countries. They took the oath of allegiance together and then received their certificate of naturalization. The Dean of Law at UT was one of the speakers. He touched on President Trump's failed travel ban on several predominantly Muslim countries. It appeared the tension surrounding immigration has been a concern for many. Verna Salazar is from Monterrey, Mexico. She says now more than ever was the right time for her to become a U.S. citizen.
I have to wait for 5 years, so as soon as the 5 years complete and then thinking about Trump and all this, we don't know what's going to happen later, so it's why they decided, well, this is my time. Just we want to work, change our life, a better life, and is why we are here.
Immigration lawyer Thomas Esparza Jr. says many people applying for citizenship are from Asia and Mexico. He says the process has gotten tougher over the years. The citizenship application went from being 4 pages long back in the 70s to now 22 pages.
Trump administration is trying to finish off the first 100 days strong, but the threat of a government shutdown is looming, although President Trump is now signaling he may back down from his demand that the spending measure include money for his border wall. Fox News correspondent Kelly Wright has more from New York.
Time is not on the side of members of Congress as the clock is ticking towards another government shutdown.
Shutdown is not a desired end. It's not a tool. It's not something that we want to have.
President Trump's budget director wouldn't say whether or not the president would risk a politically unpopular shutdown to get his border wall. But new reports tonight, the president telling a group of conservative reporters he is considering softening up his demands for funding for the wall in order to avoid a shutdown. Instead, the president saying he would look for more border security funding in the fall. Democrat House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi in a statement calling the comments, quote, welcome news given the bipartisan opposition to the wall and the obstacle it has been to the continuing bipartisan negotiations.
The Senate will come to order.
The Senate back in the Capitol today with members of the House returning tomorrow, but some not even planning to meet until Wednesday. That gives lawmakers just a couple days to come to an agreement on how to pass a spending bill and keep the doors open on the federal government.
It's going to be a process through the week. We will arrive at a bill.
Meanwhile, the vice president speaking to troops in Hawaii, promising a beefed up military budget as part of that spending bill.
I'm headed back to Capitol Hill. There's a spending bill that's being considered as we speak. The president's working even in what remains of this budget year to begin to supplement our military spending.
Although lawmakers just returned from a recess, they're only planning to be in session for about 2 weeks before their next 10-day break starting May 5th. In Washington, Lauren Blanchard, Fox News.
According to police reports, the man forcibly removed from that United Airlines flight a few weeks back was, quote, aggressive and flailing his arms as he fought with officers. That information was released yesterday after a Freedom of Information Act request was filed by the LA Times. The report portrays a very different version from the events that were recorded on some other passengers' cell phones, which show officers yanking the man from his seat and dragging him down the aisle. United CEO has since apologized for the incident.
In world news, top officials from Japan, South Korea, and the U.S. meet in Tokyo today to discuss the escalating situation in North Korea. The meeting comes as tensions between the U.S. and North Korea continue to rise. Over the weekend, the communist country announced again that it was willing to use its nuclear deterrent and threatened all-out war. Today marks the 85th anniversary of the founding of North Korea's military. And many analysts feel that the regime might take this opportunity to test a nuclear bomb or long-range ballistic missile.
Last night, Chile was hit by a powerful earthquake. The magnitude 6.9 quake hit off the country's central coast. Buildings in Santiago could be seen swaying, but fortunately, no reports of any injuries or damage to infrastructure. Chile is no stranger to earthquakes. Back in 2010, a magnitude 8.8 quake and tsunami killed more than 500 people.